If you've been paying attention to what's going on in the world, you may feel like things are not quite going the right way. And if that's you, but deep down inside you know that you deserve better, then there's a good chance we think about life the same way. Um, I don't think that there is anything that we must accomplish that we cannot accomplish if we work together. But it's very difficult for us to work together if we don't know how to make friends, which takes me to our agenda for today. We're going to be discussing the finer points of how to make friends. I think it's a lost art, to be honest with you. If you think back throughout our history and just the time that we spent in school, you may feel like it was very easy to make friends when you were going to the same class as your fellow classmates and you were playing and you were studying and you were doing all of these activities together. It seemed as if it was very easy to make friends. Well, let's assume that you didn't have any issues making friends in school. I know there are some people who have challenges making friends in school, but let's just assume that for the sake of our conversation, you didn't have any issues making friends in school. And if that's you, then you know how easy it can be to make friends with someone that you go to school with, that you study with, that you play with, that you socialize with, and that you move through different milestones of life with. Our issue is as adults, it becomes harder and harder to make friends. We Some of us have moved jobs multiple times, so we've switched companies. And whenever you switch companies or move careers or break those associations that you have with people that you work with, it becomes harder and harder when you move on to make friends. And I think this is it's an area of life where so many people are essentially living their entire life without any close friends, and they just essentially lose that ability to go out and make new and good friends, friends that they can trust. I know there's social media out there, and there's times to comment, there's times to follow and subscribe to different people's pages. But even if you subscribe to a page, or even if you comment and you get a response back, it's very difficult, even with all of our social media technology, to make friends and actually have genuine connections with people, authentic connections with people. You may find yourself at a conference, or you may find yourself at work, and you may be socializing with people and trying to get to know them on a deeper level. But the conversations only go so deep. And if they do go deep, hey, if the economy has a downturn and people have to lay off people, and my business unit gets closed down, there's a good chance that your entire group of friends that you have at work may disperse, and you may lose contact with those people. My job, the job that I have given myself, is to make sure that you have the tools that you need to make and keep good friends, lifelong friends, friends that you can rely on when times are tough, and friends that you can get fulfillment out of supporting when they're going through challenges of their own. My goal is to make sure that you are able to build authentic relationships, full of transparency and good communication, and make real connections that have tangible impacts and benefits in your life. So it's in that spirit that I'm honored to announce the topic for today. We're going to be discussing how to make friends, and by doing so, how to make friends while attending a class or attending a workshop. For those of you that haven't got a chance to see the entire series, by this time, I am going to assume, I know it's bad to assume, but I'm going to assume that you've already identified what your primary personality characteristic is. And I'm also going to assume that you've already made a commitment to pursuing your interests. Whatever those interests are, you're interested in pursuing those interests, and you're taking steps to pursue those interests. When you think about going to a workshop or going to a class, signing up, you want to sign up for a class or a workshop that is consistent with what your interests are, and a workshop or a class that will allow you to further demonstrate and further reinforce your primary personality characteristic. That's that part of your personality that doesn't change regardless of the situation. Regardless of our activity, no matter what environment we're in, we want to continue to reinforce our primary personality characteristic for a lot of different reasons. But we can go into a deeper dive into that later. For now, I'll just refer you to the other video that has already been posted. So with respect to classes and workshops, the first thing that you should know is obviously there's a lot of different types of classes and workshops. For those of you that have gone to college, you know that signing up for a college and getting the curriculum and getting the books and all of that is part of your degree. For the sake of this conversation, let's assume that we're not talking about the classes that you're going to complete a course of study, but let's talk about the classes that are those miscellaneous classes, those elective classes, or the workshops that you can go to that are not necessarily affiliated with a particular certificate or a diploma. So there's a lot of different types of workshops. There are workshops related to learning a particular skill related to a hobby. For example, me, I ride motorcycles. So I've signed up for classes that help me become a better rider. I didn't know how to ride at all in the beginning, and it was quite intimidating. I'm not even going to lie, but going to a class and completing it and getting a chance to network with different people who are also starting that hobby or starting that activity, it allowed me to build relationships and get a new perspective of the world, of my community, of just what it's like to be involved with a particular hobby. It built my awareness around what my interests were. And so that was very useful. So there's workshops and classes associated with hobbies. There's workshops and classes associated with particular ethnicities. I know in our country, we're a country of immigrants. I know people don't like to admit that, but we are in America. And being a country of immigrants, we have such a rich and diverse culture. And there are a lot of classes out there related to cooking, different ethnic foods from all over the world. There's also classes associated with dancing and various cultural milestones and celebrations. And yeah, so there's ethnic and there's cultural classes that are available as well. And there's also classes associated with like fitness and health. I shouldn't say like with that because fitness and health don't need a like. There's classes that help you eat healthier. There's classes and workshops associated with cooking, baking, grilling, smoking, regardless of whatever you're doing. There's regardless of what your diet is, there's a lot of health classes and food classes that are out there and workshop classes that are out there. There's also exercise classes. So, you can go to the gym, you can sign up, you can do your thing. Just make sure that when you go to the gym, it is consistent. You can take a class at the gym, and aside from other classes, you can learn a skill and you're done. But when you take a class at the gym, you kind of have to continue going to the class if you want to get the results that you see other people in the class making. So yeah, so there's health and there's fitness classes and workshops as well. There's also classes associated with your profession. So we spend so much time at work, 80, I'm not sure if it's 80, but let's say 8 hours a day, 8, 9 hours a day, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. But for multiple years, decades even, I know there are some people in our economy and that are living in our society that have not worked a day in their life. But the majority of us, 99% of us, we work and we spend a lot of time in that work mindset. And we know that the better our skills are, our professional skills are, the higher our compensation should be. I don't like turning down professional development, especially if your firm is paying for it. So yeah, take that as a note that there are a lot of professional development, professional skills-based, licensing-based, professional development classes and coursework and workshops that you can go to. And it's not just about learning that that getting that certification, or it's not just about learning that professional skill. You get a chance to network with other people who are interested in developing themselves professionally, and you can begin building your network with people who you probably wouldn't have met because they may be employed at different companies, but you're all going to the same workshop. So yeah, there's professional development workshops in like within your industry, but also I'm sure if you work at a large enough company, your company has professional development workshops that you can go to, and you can network with people within your company. So a lot of great relationships have been started and continue to provide me a lot of dividends based on the fact that I've met people at different workshops and conferences. So that's around professional skills. There's also workshops and classes associated with your community, so like your region. Um, Whether you live in a small town or a big city or whatever your situation is, right? There are certain things that are unique to your particular region, and the people that have been living in your community may host workshops and classes to help people either get accustomed or to learn the skills that they need in order to survive. I know survive is a strong word, but um, help them be able to live and get acclimated to living in that area. Like, for example, if you're moving out to a very cold part of the country and you've never used a snowblower before, well, I'm sure there are classes out there that will teach you how to use a snowblower. Same thing if you're living in a very cold area and for some reason you have to traverse the roads and the roads they're not necessarily clean all the time. I'm sure there are classes out there or driving classes that help you drive and get around in the snow. You just have to search them out and look for them. But yeah, there's regional classes and workshops as well. A lot of different types of workshops that you can go to, and all of them have their own purpose. But the one thing that I like about all classes and workshops is the ability to network, which takes me to my next point. When you're going to a class or you're getting ready to sign up for a workshop and you're getting ready to build out your network and make new friends, do some research on the workshop, ask those questions that you need to ask, do your due diligence, and find out what type of people attend the class or the workshop. You want to find out also if the people who are attending the workshop are around your same age or have some sort of attribute that you share. You want to find out if they have some sort of attribute that you share or they have something in common with you. If they're all of a certain age or they all live in a certain place or they all work in a particular industry, just find out what that is. You also want to check out and find out if the class or the workshop is going to provide you opportunities to network. I know network is a business term or a corporate term, but think about socializing. You want a class or a workshop that allows you to either socialize before the workshop and after, definitely after. A class or a workshop where you fly in or you drive in or whatever it is, and they have an opportunity for you to network before and during, but not after. Those are not as good as the classes and the workshops that allow you to network after the event. If you just think about how the life cycle of the event goes, you're going to get there to a class or the workshop. You may not know anybody, or maybe you'll come with one person. But regardless of the people that you know when you start the workshop, you're going to know way more people after the workshop is over, especially if it is a workshop that has high participation, meaning they have a lot of crowd participation where you get to learn different things about people who are attending the workshop, and you're able to begin finding opportunities to start conversations and to get to know different people who are attending the same workshop. If that's the case, then you want an opportunity to network right after the workshop because that's where you get their information. That's where you make plans to see each other again. That's where you dive a little bit deeper into something that was discussed. I always like giving compliments after the workshop. So that's where you get to give compliments and be gracious to the host and gracious to the people that participated and enriched your experience. That's very important in my opinion. Why would you go to a workshop or sign up for a class if you don't plan on meeting new friends, or if you don't plan on getting to know the people who are also attending the workshop, and if you don't plan on keeping in touch? our networks, and I know it's kind of cheesy to say, but our networks are equivalent or proportional to our net worth, meaning we can get through life a whole lot easier and have a much better time and have much bigger chances of living our dreams if we have a good network, or as I like to say, if you have really good friends. If you have really good friends, you don't have to worry about the downturn in the economy because you know your friends are going to get your back, regardless of what happens in your company. If you have really good friends, you don't have to worry about what are you going to be doing next in your career. They'll throw out ideas, and maybe you might have some ideas of your own, but you'll be able to have enough friends, lifelong friends that you can tap into that can give you really good advice because they don't just care about how much money you're making for them. They care about how fulfilled and how happy you are. Yeah, there's people out there that are still like that. And those are the type of people that I am working to bring together in this community. So, yeah, you want to look for that type of workshop that allows you to network, that gives you an opportunity to network afterwards. And I already mentioned it, and I'll repeat it again. You want to find an event or a class or a workshop that has high class participation. You want to find a workshop that allows you to see other people learning and demonstrating different learning objectives. And you also want a workshop or a class that allows people to share personal information or do some icebreakers so that you can have opportunities to strike up casual conversations with people at the workshop without having to feel like you are introducing yourself to a random stranger. That's very important. It's very useful, especially if the facilitator can do it, that who can break the ice and essentially allow you to speak to someone that you just met, but speak as if you guys are longtime friends. Those are the big things that you want to look for in your workshop. Obviously, something that you're going to learn, right? But our goal of going to a workshop or going to a class is, as people, good people, we know that one of the most dangerous places for a good person to be is to be surrounded by people who are not their friends. And as we get older and older, it gets harder and harder to make good friends and to keep them. And going to a class or a workshop is not just about learning something, and it's not just about the action that we're learning or the activity that we're learning or the skills that we're developing. Going there is also about meeting good people and making good friends. And if enough of us do the same thing, then workshops and classes are going to be a wonderful opportunity to continue to build our network, continue to build a great group of friends. So let's talk about what are you going to do once you get to your class or to your workshop. Regardless of what type of workshop it is, what you want to do is have in your mind how you're going to introduce yourself. If you have to memorize it, memorize it. I think it works better when you don't memorize it and you just sort of wing it. But if you do plan on winging it, make sure you cover a couple of key things. You obviously want to introduce your name. So like me, I'd say, hey, my name is Kenneth or Bowman, or my name is Kenneth Bowman. Or sometimes I'll introduce myself and just say, hey, my name is Mr. Bowman, or my name is Ken, depending on how formal the workshop is. So you want to introduce your name, use your name. And then you also want to find a way to demonstrate your core, your primary personality characteristic. That's that part of your personality that doesn't change. So in my instance, I love, right? So my part of my personality that doesn't change is love. And so I have to think, okay, when I introduce myself at the workshop, how can I introduce myself and use my name, but also demonstrate that love that I have inside me so that I can be true to who I am? So typically what I will do, I'll introduce myself. Hi, my name is Kenneth Bowman. It is such a lovely day today. I know it sounds corny, but it sounds much smoother when I say it in person. Or I'll say, yeah, I'll give us some sort of a compliment like, hi, my name is Kenneth Bowman. Have you noticed how beautiful the weather is? Or have you noticed how great this agenda is? I always try to give a compliment to either the event, to the person that I'm speaking to the weather, to something. Because giving a compliment and demonstrating that you're gracious or that you're full of gratitude is also a way of demonstrating that you have love inside you. So that's how I do it. If you're very creative or maybe you're a very honest person, just find a way to, when you're introducing yourself to someone at the workshop, find a way to demonstrate or communicate your primary personality characteristic. So that way, whoever you meet, regardless of who they are, they'll walk away knowing, even if it's subconsciously, they'll know who you truly are. And if it's a good match, if it's a good fit, if it's a friendship that can continue to grow, you know that that initial conversation where you introduced yourself and you said your name and you demonstrated or you communicated your primary personality characteristic, then you'll know that that person got to know you and got a chance to see you, even if it's for a brief second. They got a chance to see you for who you really are. The third thing to do when you're getting ready to introduce yourself, once you get to the conference or get to the workshop and you're attending the class, the third thing that I want you to make sure that you do is talk about your interests. So, for example, my interests, I like riding motorcycles. I also like producing content and helping people create healthy relationships. I'm a consultant. I like to solve difficult problems with very intelligent people. I also served in the military, so I like serving my country. I have a mission-oriented life that I love to live. I also love my family. So I have a lot of interests, right? You're also going to have a lot of interests, and you just have to pick one of them. Your interests can change over time, over the course of your life, and people know that. People understand that. But the one thing that is not going to change is that foundation, your primary personality trait or your primary personality characteristic. So pick an interest and find a way to work that into your introduction. There are some people who like to introduce themselves based on their job, their industry, and the things that they're working on. Like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a real estate broker, or I'm a chef. Sometimes people like to introduce themselves by their profession, and that also works as well because technically your profession is also your interest, and you spend a lot of time at work, right? So if I meet someone and they introduce themselves and they talk about where they worked, then I am led to believe that their profession is one of their primary interests. But if I meet someone and they introduce themselves and they mention a different interest, then I know that when they interact with me, there's a good chance that they are looking for someone to share the same interests as them, whether it's a hobby, whether it's some sort of culture, or maybe it's some sort of activity. Then I know that, okay, this person is looking for friends that share a particular interest. Similarly, if I introduce myself based on my profession as a technology consultant or as a keynote speaker, then people who I introduce myself to are automatically going to think, okay, how how do I fit with his keynote speaking, or how do I fit with his technology consulting? And can we work together? Do we have shared interests? Are we in industries that, or are we doing roles in our industries that are complementary of each other? Is this a potential business partner? Is this a potential friend that that somehow, some way we share the same interest? So I ask you to do the same thing. Choose something. If it is your profession, let it be your profession. But if it's not, and it's something else, maybe you like playing some sort of musical instrument, fine, go ahead and do that. But introduce yourself and share that interest. It may sound something like this. Hi, my name is Kenneth Bowman. It is so nice to see you. I'm having a wonderful time at this conference. Just last week, I was riding my motorcycle. I was loving it, but I was so looking forward to this conference. I'm looking forward to getting back to riding my motorcycle, but I am so looking forward to this conference. And I'm curious, have you ever rode a motorcycle before? Or I'm curious, what's your name? Um, I'm sure that I can make that sound a lot better when I am speaking to someone in person, but that's me speaking to you and giving you my take on it. And as long as your energy is good, as long as you're smiling, as long as you're engaged, as long as you're making an honest attempt to make an authentic connection, it really doesn't matter if you trip over your words. Don't feel bad that you might get something wrong and it has to be perfect. It's the most important thing is to start your new friendship and start meeting people and be as authentic to you as possible. None of us are perfect. So if you trip over your words or your introduction doesn't quite make sense, that's okay. They can always ask follow-on questions. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about this motorcycle thing. It seems like you talked about it a lot. Are you really into motorcycles like that? What type of motorcycle do you ride? So even though it doesn't sound perfect, if I'm speaking to someone who can see my positivity and see the love that I have in my heart, and they can feel my spirit or whatever you want to call it, and we're destined to be friends, then most likely, even if I messed up my introduction, they're going to find a way to re-engage and give me another shot at talking about what is near and dear to my heart or what my interests are. So I ask you that you practice those three things when you go to your next class or you sign up for your next workshop. Practice introducing yourself, practice saying your name, make sure that whatever you want people to call you, let them call you that. Make sure that you communicate your primary personality trait. That's that trait that doesn't change. And then the third thing that I would ask that you do is make sure that you communicate your interest. I think if you do all of those three things and you start attending classes and workshops and you take that opportunity to network with people and make relationships with people and introduce yourself to people, there's going to be some times when you're going to mess up. There's going to be some classes that you're going to go to and you're like, I haven't found anybody here that I really want to continue a long-term like friendship with. That's okay. Making friends and finding good friends that can be your lifelong friends. I like to tell people it is a contact sport. The more contacts that you make with people, the more times you're going to win. If you only give yourself a shot to just introduce yourself to one or two people at like 100-person conference, okay, well, that's one or two people out of 100. But just imagine how many people you could find at a particular conference or in a workshop or in a class in person. By the way, there's a lot of ones that are virtual where it's much difficult to network, but an in-person place, and you're only talking to two people, but imagine if you talk to all of them, your odds would be much, much, much higher that you're going to find people who share your interests, that appreciate and embrace your primary personality trait, and that are going to remember your name because just the energy that you're giving off, the positivity that's flowing out of you, or whatever it is, right? They're going to connect with that genuine part of you. And that genuine part of you, even on your darkest nights and your worst days, that genuine part of you is priceless. And never forget that. You have something that is inside you that is very valuable. No one can duplicate it. They can imitate it, but no one can duplicate it. And that is the one thing that makes you unique and makes you have value, regardless of what you have done in the past and regardless of what mistakes you're going to make in the future. Because you hold true to whatever that primary personality trait is, that is the one thing that gives you inherent value. And I'm here talking to you because I want you to embrace it. Going forward and getting ready to sign off, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this is just another day where you continue to work on your ability to build and grow healthy relationships and initiate good friendships. Whether you're looking for someone to date and spend your life with, it all starts off with friendship. If you're looking for a new job and you need a good reference and you need a good recommendation and you need someone to hire you and you want to work for someone who's not going to treat you poorly, that all starts off with friendship. If you are looking at whatever you want to do in your life, right? If you're just lonely, right? And maybe just want someone to talk to, it all starts off with friendship. Being able to make and keep and nurture good friendships. Obviously, once you're friends, things can escalate from there. If you're looking for some sort of romantic situation, it can also escalate from there if you're looking for some sort of professional opportunity where you're like, hey, I need someone to hire me, or I'm looking for a good job in a better industry, and so on and so forth. If you make friends, it can escalate into more of a professional situation, right? But it all starts off with building that foundation of friendship. And that's what I'm working so hard to do. For the folks that are listening to me for the first time, thank you so much for coming and visiting and listening. Welcome to the community. For those of you that have already subscribed and followed and are supporting me and this process of building this community, I thank you so much for your efforts. I encourage you to engage with other people in the community. Be supportive. This is a safe space. We're learning how to build good relationships, build good friendships. We're learning some skills that we're all going to be able to use to be successful. I believe that anything that we want in life, regardless of what we want to do, living the American dream, right? Or having a family and taking care of our family without having to stress so much and providing a better quality of life for our children, regardless of what we want to do. I believe that when we work together, we can do it. And when we are friends with each other, that makes it even easier for us to work together. All right. I look forward to chatting with you all again soon. I hope you have a wonderful day and a blessed week. I'll talk to you all later. Thank you.